our masters!
What do these things want, and why are they here?
You still don't get it, do you, boy?
They have recruited the rich and the powerful.
They're running the whole show.
Wake up! They're all about you, all around you. Blinded us to the truth.
Take a look.
They are safe as long as they are not discovered.
I don't know what they are or where they came from, but we gotta stop them.
Stay away from me.
Put these on.
They have us. Look at them. They're everywhere. Our owners.
We have no other choice.
I don't like this one bit.
Leave it alone, man. It ain't none of my business. Ain't none of yours.
We have been lulled into a trance.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. We're in trouble. The whole world's in trouble.
Control us.
You're sending some kind of signals out of TV sets.
I've got one that can see.
Mama don't like tattletale. Now we start spilling some blood. Let's go!
But
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And welcome back to the Movie Hero Network. This is Wheel of Movies, episode number 53. And happy spooky season, everybody. And we are kicking things off here this evening with a look at John Carpenter, the master of horror, and his 1988 film, They Live, starring Roddy Piper. I am Austin Pez Howell. And joining me, as always, is my partner, Richie Goodacre. How's it going, Richie?
Yeah, no, going good. I'm excited to dive into this again. It's been a long time. So yeah, I was just saying off air. I was like, oh man, it was I was worried I had to find this, but shout out to the YouTube user Infrared Riding Hood. That is a great username, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's a nice play on words. Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Who's it's still up there after and you posted it 10 months ago. So you are a hero, sir, and I appreciate you.
Nice. So what we did was we wanted to make sure we covered something kind of categorized under horror. So I had Jordan Anderson kind of spin the wheel off air until we just spun a horror movie. And watching this movie, it's classified as a horror movie, although it feels more action, I think you would say, Richie, than horror per se.
Yeah, it's action, sort of sci-fi-ish.
Yeah. With horror elements, there's some horror makeup and horrific elements for sure. I don't know if I'd go full horror with it, but you can understand why Google and IMDb has it classified under horror. So hey, we'll take it. And and it's a John Carpenter movie, so there's always going to be those elements there. We're excited to talk some Carpenter here. I think this is the first John Carpenter movie we've done, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's definitely a few of them I know that's on the wheel, but we haven't spun them yet. So.
Yeah, because we haven't talked about The Thing. We haven't talked, Halloween. We haven't talked
China, which is
No Big Trouble, which I'm sure is on the wheel somewhere. Yeah, things like that. So yeah, most of it is kind of 70s and 80s fare. Overall, I think I would say I'm a fan of the guy, and even his stuff in the 90s, which was a little more hit or miss. He still had some gems for me, like In the Mouth of Madness is a lot of fun. I like Vampires, the one with James Woods. I think is a fun movie. A few of the misses, Village of the Damned, his remake is not the greatest in the world. And then, Ghost of Mars is a guilty pleasure, I would say. I don't totally trash it. It's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I had to argue it on Movie Battleground one time, Richie, which I was successful in doing so. But yeah, what's your history with this movie and little John Carpenter, Richie?
I mean, I've always I've known about it since I was a kid because of obviously the rest in connection with Roddy Piper. But I think I watched it for the first time maybe 7, 8 years ago. I got to it relatively late. I was just like, I should probably, they talk about this being one of them, bigger wrestling performances, of a wrestler. So I probably should get to it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's been, I think I watched it like once since then before this viewing. So, but it'd been a while. So, yeah, that was sort of my my viewing of it, and John Carpenter in general. Like, yeah, I watch some of his movies and some movies I hadn't, but yeah, obviously, I like all the other classics like your Halloweens and your the Thing, and Big Trouble. But yeah, I haven't delved completely into his filmography, but I do like I do like more than I dislike of his stuff. So yeah, yeah, so. That's pretty much my history of the movie and this film overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of safe with Carpenter mostly. Anything kind of pre, mid '90s or so, you're pretty safe with most of his movies. That's where it gets a little shaky. Like I said, you get stuff like Ghost of Mars, you get The Ward, which I also argued on Battleground one time was, one of the worst horror movies of the 2000s, and I stand by that. It's a pretty tropey, cliche thing. I just don't. I think he's kind of lost the passion since then. But I know he's been doing. He's kind of stepped away from filmmaking, and rightfully so. He's an older gentleman, so he's earned his retirement. He's certainly given us enough classics over the years, and he does. I know concerts, with a lot of his music, and then and he does a bunch of different talking head documentaries, things like that. So I mean, the man's earned his his rest, so to speak, if you will. I mean, he'd been working since the early '70s, so he certainly earned it. But yeah, as far as this movie goes, I've seen this movie a couple of times. I think I actually watched it not that long ago, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago for something. I can't remember like what exactly I was watching. It might have been with me and Jacob for like a podcast about movies or something like that. We might have talked about it for something. And it's always a lot of fun. Like, it's not one of my all-time favorite movies, but it certainly is a good watch every time I go back to it. But let's get into a few little facts about the movie. So like I said, directed by John Carpenter, November 4th, 1988, and was actually pushed back a few weeks as to not compete, Richie, with a Halloween movie, with Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, which came out a few weeks earlier. Came out the same year. It was Michael's big return after kind of the sort of flop that was Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, where they tried to deviate, away from Michael and turn it into like an anthology series, and crowds didn't quite take to that. So that didn't quite work. And Carpenter was still, up until Halloween 3, kind of involved in the series, because he still had some production and writing credits on 2 and 3, so he was still kind of intertwined in that a little bit. So you can understand why he didn't want to quite step on the toes there. So came out a few weeks later, but also had a lot of heavy competition, as I'll get to here in a minute when I talk about the box office, because had a budget of $3 million. So yeah, pretty low budget movie for what it is. And I think the movie looks pretty good for a $3 million movie overall. I mean, it looks pretty great. It opened at number 1 the weekend it came out, but only grossed $13 million overall. So it was kind of like it opened decently, at number 1, and then fell off pretty quickly. So anybody who was going to see it watched it pretty quickly, and then it kind of faded away, and audiences looked at other things. So I think maybe just a victim of just kind of random timing. This probably should have been released around the holiday season when you got so much like family fare. You know what I mean? You put this out maybe another slower part of the year, and it might have got some traction, things like that. But obviously the movie went on to become a hit on video and cable, and became a cult classic. So it kind of found its audience through the 90s. Just not a whole lot of trivia notes. I did see that the main thing people talk about is the famous fight scene, which we'll get to. Richie, one of the great movie fights of all time, and then Roddy Piper was very hands-on with that fight with Carpenter. They choreographed a lot of that, outside of Carpenter's office at the movie studio. So he had like kind of this backyard area there, and they prepped this for like a month or two, like 2 months in advance or something, choreographing every bit of this. And it was originally only supposed to be like a 30-second fight, and it just kept getting longer and longer and longer as they just wanted to have more and more fun with it. And Carpenter was eventually like, yeah, let's just go for it. Every time you think it's going to end, we just keep going. It just keeps going and going on, but in a good way.
Especially if it's over something like we'll get to it. It's over something a bit trivial. All you have to do is.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, Keith David obviously again worked very closely with Piper, and Piper, coming from a wrestling background, was instrumental in helping Keith David again learning how to pull some of the punches and kind of do some selling. As we're familiar with Richie, the kind of the wrestling sells to make things look like they're hurting more than they actually are, and really kind of get that the impact of everything. So yeah, that was big and instrumental on that. The most famous line of the movie, I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass and I'm all out of bubblegum, that is a Roddy Piper line by him. So and that was not in the script. He had a notebook of things of lines he would just think of and want to use in wrestling promos, and that was one that Carpenter and him were flipping through his notebook of stuff looking for cool lines to use for the movie. They saw that, and Carpenter liked it, and they incorporated it into that scene that's so famous now. So yeah, use of a good sort of wrestling promo line for sure. You could see Piper saying that to somebody in a promo for a pay-per-view or something like that, for sure.
There's definitely there's definitely another one in here. There's another one in here that's I swear it could have been from this thing, right? That's just after the fight scene when he goes, "Life's a bitch and she's in heat." I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's like right after he puts the glasses on him. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of like buzzworthy things that I'm sure Piper was instrumental in. He actually quit the WWF to make this movie. Vince McMahon did not want him to quit and kind of begged him not to do so, and even offered essentially like, hey, I'll match your pay, we'll sponsor a movie, and we'll do a project, and basically what eventually would amount to the WWE produced No Holds Barred, Richie with Hulk Hogan, that would come out a year later. So that could have been Roddy Piper in No Holds Barred, but instead Roddy just flat out said, nah, I'll just go ahead and do this movie with John Carpenter. And he did the movie, and it was very well received. But he eventually came back, in 1990 anyway. So they were able to kind of work that out. And then the only other thing I really had is the homeless encampment that we see kind of in the first half of the movie that Piper's sort of hanging around. They used a lot of actual real homeless folks as extras in those scenes. But John Carpenter, put them in the movie, gave them paychecks, fed them with the catering, on the movie and things like that. To see authentic. So, and Piper said he enjoyed the fact that those guys all got a little money and a little food, to work for about a week or so. So, that's a nice little thing there. But yeah, not a whole lot of pre-production outside of that. A few more little notes as we get into the movie. But would you like to hear what else was around the box office November of 1988, Richie? Sort of approaching the holiday season, if you will.
Yeah, I was trying to think I couldn't even think what would be around then. But yeah, I'm sure it was some heavy hitters.
Oh no, there's definitely a few movies that we were still talking about today for sure. The big hit from around that time, Child's Play, the original Child's Play or Chucky, a big hit around the spooky season there, doing quite well. And yeah, had a good marketing campaign. And obviously, we'll be talking about that franchise tomorrow night here on the Movie Hero Network when we talk about our horror franchises. Became one that's still going today. Number 2, got some holiday fare, was Scrooged with Bill Murray, the comedy, which is very funny. I know that one's on the wheel somewhere. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy that movie a lot.
That movie's a whole lot of fun. Another Christmas fare, Ernest Saves Christmas, in theaters at this time as well, November of 88. Still doing okay at the box office.
There's some Ernest movies on here, aren't there? Because
I think Scared Stupid is on there somewhere. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that would have been fun to talk about, but we'd have to spin it first. Yeah, but you know me, I'm the earnest fanboy of the group. So yeah, if we spin an Ernest movie, I'm more than happy to talk about that. Another movie got The Land Before Time, the original one, produced by
yeah.
Steven Spielberg, which would become a franchise in itself. I have a box set next to me,
It's
Richie. I
like
got at
14
Walmart.
movies or
There's
some shit.
14 movies at this point. Yes, all these direct to video sequels. Yeah, it's kind of insane how many movies they've made in this franchise. Got The Accused with Jodie Foster, the movie she would win an Oscar for.
Right.
Coming out in '88. They Live is on the list. Oliver and Company, the Disney film about the the
Billy
dogs and
Joel.
cats. Yeah, the Billy Joel one. I rewatched that not too long ago. Again, speaking
Right.
of movie battleground, I think I battled Will Cohen. I think he picked that or something as like a animated of the '80s. Yeah, the movie's not very good. I rewatched it. Not great. I was able to successfully argue against it. It's not very good. Yeah, that was when Disney was starting to was getting their asses kicked by Don Bluth until Little Mermaid came out. So they had a few rough ones in there. Something called U2 Rattle and Hum. I think it's like a concert film with U2. I'd never heard of it, but you know, actually in theaters. Iron Eagle 2, Cocoon the Return, the Cocoon sequel. The aforementioned Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers, kind of falling off a little bit, you know, since Halloween, but it was still around the box office and still in theaters from July. If you looked hard enough, Die Hard was still hanging around, even from July, so still doing well at the box office. Back when movies back then, Richie, you know, could hang around the box office for 6 months if they were, you know, a big word of mouth hit. You know, if you look at Home Alone was number one, you know, between 1990 and 1991 for like 13 weeks in a row or something like that, just like a massive hit. So yeah, you could have movies like that around the time. So but yeah, what do you say we get into it? So I was gonna say this is this actual movie is based on a old sci-fi short story. It's called 8 o'clock in the Morning. The original story by Ray Nelson. So it's a 1963 short story. And the character of Nada, which is actual Piper's credited name in here, it's never said in the film. We never get his actual name. Nobody says his name, or we don't see like an ID or anything like that. He's credited as Nada in the credits. But the only reason he's credited as that is because it's the same character as the short story. So that's the only reason we even know that. So I'm probably going to refer to him as Roddy Piper for most of the movie as we talk about it, which is fine because yeah, they don't say it. But yeah, this is kind of based on this short story. You know, kind of a similar thing about a kind of a secret, you know, alien invasion and people, you know, infiltrating you know, things of government and high positions of power and whatnot. So you know, we'll talk about the themes of this movie, but it's that. But yeah, we get Roddy Piper in the lead role here, and you know, certainly the other casting rumor, of course, Richie, is after the many movies they had done together, Kurt Russell was originally going to be, of course, the lead of this movie because he had obviously already worked with Carpenter throughout most of the 80s with Escape from New York and The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China and whatnot. But he said he thinks the audience would have been kind of onto him at that point, and it's not that he was tired of working with Kurt. He was just like, he said, you know, himself, he wanted to kind of challenge himself to you know, get somebody new for the role. And it was like, well, it's a very physical part. And, you know, Carpenter was a wrestling fan. So he's like, well, let me try to cast a wrestler. And one of his favorites was Roddy Piper, and wanted to give it a shot. And he auditioned and got the role. So, yeah, I think it's kind of universally agreed, Richie, this is one of the better, like, wrestler turned actor, you know, not only performances, but movie as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. He definitely fits the role. Like, you know, if you didn't know Roddy Piper was a wrestler, you'd probably just like, oh, like, you know, he just suits the role as an actor here. Like, he's just a, you know, he fits in pretty well. Yeah, I think I watched an interview just before I come on here with Meg Foster, who plays the, I can't remember the character name, but she in the movie. And she talks about how, like, yeah, like he just took to acting quite well. And then, yeah, he's kind of got the look of like a, you know, a young Kurt Russell here. So it's like,
yeah, you can see Kurt Russell with that same kind of blonde mullet sort of thing. Yeah, wearing the flannel. Like you can see that, especially right after Big Trouble in Little China. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can see like like him sliding right in this role if it was him. And I wouldn't have blamed Carpenter if he had used Kurt Russell. I mean, he would have still been fine, I think, in the role if it was him. You could see Kurt Russell delivering that line for sure, the famous line.
But if it was Kurt Russell, do we get like things like a gut wrench suplex on Keith David?
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I don't feel like we get that awesome. That fight scene isn't as good as it is if it's Kurt Russell. But yeah, I think he fits in really well. I think he just matches. Like I think he goes toe to toe with Keith David pretty well. You think, oh yeah, man, this is a great performance. He could just be an actor now. It didn't really pan out that way. It didn't pan out that way, unfortunately. But yeah, he'd still be in stuff, but just nowhere near as high profile.
Hell Comes to Frogtown was not as big of a movie the same year. Yeah, it's a rougher movie. And then he did a few like other sort of direct to video movies. He did one with Billy Blanks called Back in Action, which is not very good. He did a movie with Sonny Chiba called Immortal Kombat that also has Meg Foster again. Speaking of Meg Foster, again he has other movies throughout the 90s, mostly just really bad direct-to-video movies, so nothing to this degree that he would do here. So yeah, it's unfortunate that he's so good here, and even in the movie kind of mostly got mixed reviews at the time. Some people enjoyed it, some people didn't. Obviously, it's pretty beloved nowadays. But most people, even in the negative reviews, praised Roddy Piper and that he had a really good screen presence here and that he's pretty natural, for what it is. And he kind of slid right in. And even Carpenter was surprised, obviously, in a lot of the initial testing and the dailies and things like that of how good he was. With his chemistry with Keith and all the other scenes. So yeah, it's unfortunate that he can never really translate that to a more lucrative movie career because he certainly had the charisma for it. Yeah.
I reckon maybe it's like a wrong era thing. If he was like younger and alive now, I think maybe this movie came out. I feel like maybe there'd be more better opportunities. I don't know. I just feel like maybe he'd have a better agent. I don't know. I just feel like if he had hit the ground running and got a better second movie other than Hell Comes to Frogtown, there might have been a bit of a bit more of progression there. But yeah, especially in these days where like wrestlers going into movies is like just a big normal thing. It seems like on Lonely Miles we report about it every couple of weeks. Oh, this wrestler's going to be in a movie. This
right.
So yeah, no, but like. Yeah, so it's a good what if. Like I do see I see a world where Roddy Piper would be like a full-time actor and leave wrestling behind somewhat. But
because it's one of those things where whenever we bring up a general list of like best movies starring a wrestler, this movie makes the list, but you can't name any other Roddy Piper movies, which is ironic it does, even though this is one of the best ones. And he had a movie career to a degree, but again, nothing to the heights of this. Certainly better than anything Hulk Hogan did, movie wise, at least even just with this one movie. But overall, you wouldn't put him in that lead category with like a Dave Bautista or even a John Cena, So
or even Rock.
Rock, he's had enough good stuff or successful stuff that he's definitely gone beyond what Piper did. But he's really good in this movie. This character Nada, he's kind of a drifter, homeless guy, said he comes from Colorado, that he was working, different factories and plants there, and he's kind of just drifting, and we get kind of this idea, Richie, that the general like economy, of the United States has kind of, gone down, or at least it's this idea that John Carpenter, again, he's very left wing. This movie's, looking into the themes. It's not that hard to figure out. This movie's very much against like Reaganomics, the trickle down economics and things like that. Of like the rich getting richer and filtering crumbs to the poor and things like that.
Very poignant to the point where we'll get to it. It's scary poignant at one point, because considering they mentioned the year we're in.
Yes, no, and I was surprised at that as well. Well, yeah, we'll get there. I was like, oh wow, I did not remember that at all. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the the big kind of sort of convention scene at the end, things like that. Yeah, the big sort of party scene. But yeah, he's so we get the idea that it's a very good economy, for the rich folks, for the elite, for the big business people. But yeah, the folks at the bottom not doing so well. Even Keith David's character, he like worked at a couple of steel mills that went under, things like that, and they're toughing it out, doing whatever jobs they can get. Yeah, he gets this job at on a construction site, sort of just kind of working, under the table a little bit, and yeah, he's kind of having to bum around some of these homeless camps, near these churches, just to kind of survive. But it's interesting, I kind of forget how long it takes Richie for us to get to kind of the stuff where he's like putting the glasses on and things like that. It's not till about 40 minutes or so into the movie you really get a lot of set up and kind of getting to know the characters and the kind of world that we're in. We get a lot of the subtle stuff on the TV and the street preachers and all the people kind of dropping the hints about like, there's people controlling everything and the elite people and the government doesn't want you to know and all this kind of stuff like getting, dropped there, and they really kind of take their time with it. It kind of feels like a 70s movie in that aspect a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciated that. It was weird, but it was like, I think that was like, with the infiltration of the TV, but then like people like the citizens sort of watching it would get headaches. I don't know if they ever, it's like, oh, I don't have a headache, so I don't know. I get was that like that, like it was beaming into them and they were getting a headache. I wasn't.
They were only getting the headaches when they were breaking the code. When that one guy who would break into it, was kind of delivering the resistance message, and they were getting headaches because the regular programming was like keeping everybody asleep or whatever, as it will, with the sleep thing that you see all the time. So when they broke that, it was like you were not getting the drug anymore, if that makes sense. So that's why they were getting the headaches, because it was breaking the general signals that they're used to.
Yeah, that makes sense now in context. But but I appreciate it, like getting to know characters, getting to know maybe, and then like sort of like not just having I get it kicks in the gear obviously when he puts his glasses on, but I enjoy a bit of backstory before we get there. So no, I appreciated that.
Yeah, no, and we need a little bit of that world building, and we're laid out the kind of mysteries of there's obviously this group of people that thinks there's this elite kind of running things, which is not like a terribly unoriginal idea, and not terribly unbelievable idea that there's like a rich cabal kind of running things. I mean, that's very like Alex Jones, Bilderberg group kind of stuff, Richie. But
well, have you heard of David Icke?
Oh yeah, David Icke. Thinks like it's the shape-shifting lizard people. The shape-shifting reptilians that like run it. But hey, it's a very similar idea to this. If it'd be like, oh, these people are really not who they say they are, and then if we could see their true form or whatever, and they've infiltrated all the highest forms of government and politics and things like that. So and law enforcement. So it's not like an idea that hasn't been around for a while. It's just kind of a more literal sense where he literally like puts on these glasses and sees all these people physically, for what they are. But yes, I am familiar with David Icke. I went through a conspiracy phase like in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I will fully admit to that, Richie, where I was like fully in on like the Alex Jones, David Icke kind of stuff, for a little while. I mean, I think everybody goes through those phases where you're just like, like, oh, this is like a dream. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But the problem is that when everything's a conspiracy, nothing's a conspiracy. So it's just, you can go down and be like, okay, at what point does it like stop being a conspiracy, or it's like at what point is it getting ridiculous?
Yeah. No, I definitely had like, I mean, I can't say I went down that road, but like I know other people who did, and then like like, but David Icke would hold like literally like 8 hour, 9 hours, 7 hours. Just like I can't imagine just sitting there for that long. Like you do tours, but they last like all day. I'm like, Jesus, I can't do, even for the most favorite comedian, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. After like 2 hours, I'm done. I don't want
Yeah,
to.
right. You can sit here and watch your PowerPoint presentations an entire afternoon on this stuff. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like went through one of those phases. The problem is I have a problem with like compartmentalization. Like, I don't think people are like governments that smart and covering up stuff. Like, if you see how bumbling things can get at the top, with people slipping of the tongues and
Yeah,
information getting out and whistleblower. Like, I don't think it's as compartmentalized as people think it is.
yeah.
People aren't that smart, but
I mean, the current current government like accidentally sent sent war plans through text or it was DMs. Or
yeah,
something.
right. And yeah, when stuff like that happens, you're like, okay, how smart really are these people, or are they just kind of humans like everybody else that make stupid mistakes every now and then? You know what I mean? People that can't even like mask their IP address. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah. So I've just seen too many holes in the theories, and don't get me wrong, there are certainly. And I won't go down a whole road of this, but there are certainly conspiracy stuff that has been proven over the years, like things of false flags and agent provocateurs and things like that. There's certainly real things that have happened throughout history that are declassified and proven, and weird experiments, and military, projects and things like that. So, I mean, there's certainly, a degree of things, but yeah, to a degree to where people are having like these super secret closed door underground meetings and underground tunnels conspiring on every little thing. Are we sure about that? I mean, Donald Trump has been president twice in the United States. You know what I mean? Like, how controlled really is it? You know what I mean? The guy
Yeah,
the guy from Home Alone 2 is the president right now. You know what I mean? Like, how
yeah.
controlled is it?
I
So,
don't, I don't think so. Yeah, but even like things that aren't like government control, like things that we didn't that definitely were deemed as conspiracy after country. Like it was a conspiracy at one point that smoking causes cancer, and now it's just like
yeah,
yeah,
that's just like a flat out scientific fact. Yeah. Right.
yeah, yeah,
So no, I mean, I get it. Yeah, there's certain things where they eventually do come out and given enough time, that there's things, but that's kind of just besides the point. But yeah, the idea of this movie is that there's been this alien race that has set up shop, here on Earth and does legitimately, has infiltrated and runs the higher aspects of government and law enforcement and broadcasting and media, everything like that, and that these people have been running their subliminal messages and kind of taking over the big things. It's hard to get an exact timeline. We get kind of hints of it, Richie. Like the one guy at the end kind of says they've been doing it since like the 50s or something like that, or they got here maybe around 57 or something like that. It's kind of hard to get that, but then somebody else says a line that like they've amped it up in the past like 8 months or something, like, or there's a drop line about the last 8 months that maybe the economy really started like crashing within the last 8 months or something, like they've amped up their power wealth grab or something,
yeah,
which is why the people are celebrating at the end of the movie. Maybe they've kind of really amped up with like a presidential candidate or something, kind of taking more recently as the opportunity is going to avail. It's hard to get like a lockdown on the timeline there, Rich, but it seems like it's been around for like they've been around for a couple of decades, but they're just now starting to like take over everything, that sort of thing.
yeah. I'd say that maybe the timeline's not too like distant from when the movie came. When what the year was and it came out. I don't know. It seems like maybe yeah, it's hard. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I get the impression maybe 70s or something. I don't know. It's hard to narrow it down. But yeah, but yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're good. No, I was gonna say, so the movie kind of kicks into high gear, again, after we kind of establish, these guys' situations and his kind of you know, a little bit of a friendship with Keith David, who obviously had worked with Carpenter before on The Thing. So he kind of recast him here as that, and thought they had really good chemistry in some of their auditions and screen tests together. And I think they do. They have a nice little kind of buddy thing going here. Kind of initially, you know, obviously a contemptuous relationship, and then kind of you know, find some common ground later. But the movie kind of kicks into high gear when the out of nowhere, and it's a pretty, you know, disturbing scene, you know, when the police and the construction crews like raid and kind of destroy that encampment, you know, and the church. It's a rough scene. Yeah, the way it's kind of staged with like the lights coming out of nowhere, you know, of like the bulldozers and stuff, and the you know, all the cops covered in like their riot gear and things like that, you know, arresting people and just, you know, running over the tents and the fences and kind of chasing people down in the alleys. And it's a pretty scary little scene, you know, these are like how rough, you know, things get when they're kind of trying to take down. And we'll see it again later, Richie, in that scene where they kind of blow open the hole in the rebel meeting, you know, and just start killing everybody. It's pretty brutal when the violence does happen and gets going.
Yeah. Again, I don't know any parallels to today, but it didn't. I mean, certain agents.
Yeah, certain 3-letter agents that are running around, you know, just like shooting people in the face right now, just, you know, standing there with signs. But yeah,
So yeah, but it was pretty brutal and sort of like like it was weird because it was like it's dark and it was like, but it almost like a tonal shift because it's like, I don't know, this movie is rated R, but then they're also trying to like skirt the line because like I don't know if like whenever someone gets shot or whatever, there's no like proper like blood. So I don't know. It's sort of like, okay, well we'll do these like intense things to make it an R rating, but we're not gonna, you know, push the envelopes, you know, too far. It was interesting, but but no, that was definitely an impactful scene. It shows you the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, no, and it kind of amps up from there. But as he's you know, as all the chaos is happening, you know, in that little church, he stumbles upon this like, you know, little compartment behind this wall, and he finds this box, full of these sunglasses, you know, and he opens it up, you know, he takes it thinking it's going to be some, you know, something kind of valuable, I would imagine. And then he gets to the alley and it's just these sunglasses. He's kind of wondering, you know, what the hell these things are. But he takes one and he kind of hides the box. And then we get probably one of the more, you know, famous sequences from any John Carpenter movie. It's this kind of long, and again, Carpenter takes his time with this sequence, Richie. Like when he puts on the glasses, he, you know, just like slowly kind of moving through the city, and like we really get to see like all the different messages throughout the thing. And it's a really fun sequence because you get to see not only like the billboards on the you know, on the sides of the buildings, but also like I love even the stuff with the magazines where he's like flipping through the magazines and every page is like obey, consume, marry and reproduce, do not question authority, you know, no original thought, you know, all this kind of stuff, watch TV, you know, this whole thing is just like hammering the thing in it. But every page of the magazine says that, you know, even the labels on the food when he gets to the supermarket, you know, all the labels of the food are that, everything on TV, every advertisement, you know, has that. But he takes his time just really letting you like kind of get absorbed into the shock of this world as if you were, you know, as a viewer kind of walking through this world for the first time. And it's a pretty cool, you know, revealing sequence.
No, I appreciate that they're trying to, getting the audience engrossed into it, and just seeing all the how it like how the glass is just completely like, you know, kind of lift the mask on every, you know, this kind of lift the subtlety of every, like, you know, the messaging, like even, you know, you said mention the food, but like there's like, you know, like the fridge, you know, the fridge with all the milk, it just says consume on it. Like, so no, I appreciated that, and it was just and now like and just how it took it, you know, it takes him ages to sort of adjust to things, and like I think that scene in when he is at the that newsstand is effective because he's like, he's trying to adjust it. Like, what am I seeing? And he's like, yeah. While these people who like also maybe these well, a couple of them are these aliens, but he sees them as like
well, and he doesn't see them until he gets to that newsstand and he sees the one guy, like the businessman, walk up to the newsstand and he like freaks out as anybody would and being like, what the hell, because I think the makeup is striking and the fact that it's all this real interesting makeup, and I think the black and white even makes it creepier. And it's designed intentionally, obviously from Carpenter, to where it looks like a rotting human corpse, like it's like the people have almost like sold their souls or something, and they're just devoid of. Well, the idea is that they're devoid of humanity. These aliens are. So it's just like this rotting corpse of a human. Even though it's an alien, and I can't decide which is creepier, Richie, the black and white version or the stuff at the end where we see them in color, when the signal gets put out, where it's kind of like red and purple and, they're both pretty gross looking, to a degree. But it's cool. Yeah. The effect is pretty cool. I really like it. Like, it's really creepy.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me the when it's black and white, the band, the Misfits, the t-shirts, the Misfits.
The logo, like the skull logo kind of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really, really well done. And then, having to, knowing that, it's cool just seeing like, Roddy Piper adjusting to this world and knowing that he has the power with these that other people don't have with these sunglasses.
Right.
And
and this is where he kind of gets to really flex, like sort of the becomes sort of the action guy, and he starts kind of dropping a lot of the one-liners, the stuff where he's in the grocery store and he's calling the one lady like formaldehyde face and stuff. That
formaldehyde face. You're ugly.
This one. You're okay. This one, real fucking ugly. Like, he's dropping that. But we find out a little bit that a lot of them are kind of all in on it. They all have these like wristwatches that are like communicators, with the headquarters and whatnot, and also they have these like kind of teleportation abilities. We get a little tease of that, but we don't get to see the full thing of that till later. Roddy Piper thinks he's going to take it upon himself. Yeah, he gets confronted by two cops. He beats up the cops, steals some firearms, and I don't know what his long-term plan here was, Richie. But like, did he think he was just going to like go on this rampage scot-free and just everybody he saw, like thinking they were just going to be a select group of these people? I don't think he really thought this rampage through, Richie, the bubblegum rampage, if you want to call it.
I mean, you're gonna, like, even if some of them are these alien forces, it's like, at the end of the day, you kill, he just, without even thinking about it, he just shoots two cops. And it's like, you're gonna, that's gonna, like, what, and someone that walks along that's going to signal like, hey, there's a madman on the loose.
And real quick, the aliens are going to pick up like that you're a threat, and they're going to swarm on you very, very quickly with like a manhunt. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get very far on this like one man rampage. Yeah, I think he should have like maybe figured out more of what he's dealing with first overall. And how extensive it goes, rather than just like, oh, I'm just going to get a gun and start shooting every alien I see. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that it's not very thought very through. But maybe he's not the smartest guy on the planet for what it is. He's a man of action, Richie. He, as he said, he's here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and he's all out of bubblegum. So as he does, I mean, it is a fun scene. Like, it's an iconic, sort of movie badass moment, in the bank, and he does his thing. Yeah, we get a lot of like pretty violent. Again, even when he starts going on the rampage, it's pretty violent as he's just like popping these random people in the bank kind of amongst the chaos. And I think this is where we start to get a little more of the blood and the squibs and things like that, the impact of each of the shots. So that's probably where most of the R rating, in addition, with the language, kind of comes from. No,
it's a cool little scene. Interesting, like, takes we'll get to it. He takes care of a lot of the aliens just because of the fact he can he can see through them. But there's so I'll just say love makes you blind apparently, or lust or whatever it was. that was it. Meg Foster. Anyway, we'll get to
Meg
that. I just find it funny that he.
No, I mean Meg Foster, we can get to it. That's pretty much what happens is he's able to escape by sort of taking Meg Foster hostage. And it's funny, Meg Foster is somebody that I kind of know the name, but then you look at her filmography and I've seen some of these movies, but I don't really remember her specifically in a lot of these movies. I know she's in like Master of the Universe. She did this, she did Leviathan. She's in stuff and she's been working a long time, but I feel like it's somebody I kind of know like in name only more than actual roles, if that makes sense. And I probably mostly just know her from this movie. I don't think she's never really like a big star, but she's kind of always been around, in TV and movies.
Yeah, like she's a name that pops up sometimes in credits, but I've never really matched the face to the name. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, that's a name I've seen that's familiar in other movies. And then this is probably it's the only time where I'm like it's obvious who that it's because of the where she was built. I'm like, okay, well she's third build, so obviously this. She's got a little alienish look to her just in general, even as a person. You know what I mean? She's got like very striking, kind of eyes and like a tall figure and things like that. She kind of looks a little otherworldly, to a degree. Maybe that's why she was cast. Yeah. Yeah. One of my characters here briefly while I was watching it, and she just goes, "She's got big eyes."
Yeah, she sure does. Yeah, she got big alien eyes. Yeah. But it is a funny moment, where he's able to kind of temporarily get away. They go to her house. You think she's going to be like kind of a little bit of an ally, to a degree. And then, as soon as she gets the opportunity, she chucks his ass right out of a window, and it's pretty brutal because she like punches him. He goes right through this window, takes a tumble like off this balcony, and then luckily he kind of rolls down this hill, instead of just landing on the concrete or something like that, kind of a dirt hill. But it's a pretty brutal little fall. It makes you wonder if not the initial big fall, but you wonder if like Piper himself kind of did the roll down the hill or something like that. You wonder if he'd be one of those guys that would just do it himself, to a degree. But it's a pretty rough, you don't really get
probably insist on doing it.
He might, I know he insisted obviously on being, every piece of the fight that we're getting to very, very soon, here because he takes the tumble down the hill, he kind of stumbles back into town, he goes back to look for his, he loses the glasses, so he's got to go back and get another pair, and the garbage is being picked up, so he's got to kind of dig around through the garbage. Never a good idea, Richie, to jump in the back of a garbage truck. I've never seen that go well in a movie. When you jump in the back of a garbage truck, usually not a good idea.
At the very least, it's very smelly.
Very smelly, but not a very smart idea, especially if they close it up on you. Not a good idea. But he's able to get those. Keith David kind of catches up to him, and because he sees him, after this rampage, word has gotten out. Obviously, he kind of knows it's him. He tries to give him some money and be like, "All right, just stay away from me. Here's some money. Just move along with your life." And this whole fight, Richie, is just about put on the damn glasses. He's just trying to get him to put on the glasses and see for himself. And it's an entire fight over not Keith David not wanting to simply put on this pair of glasses for 2 seconds and look at it. And we go from like I said, was originally supposed to be like a 30-second fight scene, just kind of a 1-2 1-2, down sort of thing, into a 5-minute and 20-second fight scene between these guys, and what is essentially kind of a stalemate at the end, and both these guys just beat the piss out of each other in this fight. And the great thing about it that people have talked about is every time you think, Richie, that it's like over, that somebody's knocked out, somebody's finished, there's no more, they just get right back up and start fighting again. It just keeps going and going and going and going, and it's so good, right? It's just one of the great fight scenes ever. It's so
remind me of the classic, the the running joke on Family Guy with Peter and
And the
chicken.
chicken. Yes. Yeah, it's just the fight never ends. It just goes on for the whole episode. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fun. And then just yeah, putting in some wrestling moves here. Yeah, he finally finishes them off with a gut wrench suplex.
Yeah, well, he hits a back suplex like off the wall. Yeah, earlier in the fight. Yeah, he kind of pushes him off. It's a back suplex. It is ironic and funny though that Roddy does go for a low blow as a heel wrestler would, also, and but Keith David catches him, is like, "You dirty motherfucker," and then as a receipt for that, later in the fight, Keith David gets on top of him and just starts brutally just kneeing him in the groin over. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Again, there's some comedic little bits in there when he's got the piece of, got like the 2x4, and he swings and misses and breaks Keith David's like the back of his car or the glass, and he's just like, "Oh man, I'm sorry," and just like, "You son of a," like, it just keeps going. Yeah, the thing that finishes it off. Yeah, it's nice that it's a gut wrench suplex. Yeah, it's a wrestling move that kind of finishes the fight to a degree, but it's really kind of a stalemate because Keith David gets his licks in. He beats the hell out of Piper too. He's a big guy, and he's no small dude. Like, he's a big dude in real life, and he's like he's right there toe to toe with him. But yeah, it's a hell of a knockdown, drag out brawl, Reggie. It's great.
I reckon. I'm surprised. I reckon if Roddy Piper stayed in WWE, they'll probably let's do Roddy Piper and Keith David at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably watch it. Sure.
Surprised FCW didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, could it be worse than Zeus or Mr. T? Like, probably not.
I think maybe. I as I said, Keith might would probably be a bit more, up for it and more athletic than Zeus. I think it'd be better than Zeus at least.
Yeah.
I'd fantasy book that.
But yeah, they sort of pair up because now Keith David has kind of seen the truth as well, and he's doing the same thing where he's kind of doing the back and forth and kind of discovering everything. They hide out for a little while, and yeah, eventually they're able to kind of run into this guy from earlier in the movie, this guy Gilbert, who you find out is a one of the kind of resistance leader guys. They go to one of their meetings. They conveniently ditch the sunglasses for contact lenses, which is nice, so they don't have to wear the sunglasses the entire rest of the movie. It's like, oh, we just happened to get these in, Richie. These new contact lenses, just got them today, that you can put in and not get a headache. But yeah, they get that. There's this underground meeting where they're trying to figure out how to disrupt the signal, and sort of broadcast the truth. It's very similar to the Running Man as well. In the Running Man the year before, they're trying to get to the underground broadcast signal and broadcast the truth. It's very similar to that.
Which is also eerie because there's a Running Man movie coming out this year.
yeah. There's the new one with Glenn Powell.
With Glenn Powell and Mark Sarah and Coleman Domingo, who I reckon if they did a They Live sequel, Coleman Domingo could pretty fit in here too. He got that build.
Yeah. No, he's a big dude. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, this is where they mentioned. It's like by 2025 we'll have full control. What?
Yeah, they mentioned that when we see that in the thing. He's like, he dropped the 2025 thing. I was like, whoa, that's weird. But you know what? Weirder things have happened recently, Richie. You know what? So I mean, if I found out tomorrow that this whole time it had been some alien cabal, spreading chaos in the world, you know what? It's a crazy thing in the world. Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, that probably checks out. Like that's probably why the world is as wacky and weird as it is right now. But yeah, this meeting gets infiltrated and stormed into, and a lot of people get brutally killed. Like, they just come in guns blazing. No prisoners taken. Just, we're gonna wipe them all out. Everybody gets kind of taken out. But they're able to get a hold of one of the watches that has this like teleportation, not so much a teleportation thing. It's like it opens up like a hole in the ground to like the underground network or something. That sort of thing, that this underground network of tunnels. Again, there's another conspiracy about that there's like this interconnected thing over here, Richie, of like interconnected underground tunnels here in the United States. These caverns. I look into the Denver airport conspiracy. Have you ever heard it too? Yeah, like there's like a base underneath the Denver airport. There's all kinds of weird stuff out there, but but yeah, they drop down in there. The one guy from early in the movie they run into is kind of showing them around. But yeah, everybody, all these elite people at this party are kind of celebrating, all their successes with the economy. Oh, all of our incomes have gone up, 40%, and the stocks are up, the our profits are up. They're all celebrating, all their riches, and yay, we're all making money. Everybody else is poor. Yay. It's a typical, like, again, the secret meetings of everybody celebrating, all becoming billionaires or whatever, things like that.
Yeah.
Celebrating their millions and billions of dollars. Right.
Yeah, definitely. It's the type of meeting that like that would have someone would have these days, and then like someone might have snuck in, and then it would be, and if it's filmed, it would be all over social media, but they'd have to explain themselves. Like, that's not what I meant. No, we care about the middle class.
Yeah, again, all this fake empathy for the middle class. There's really not. Yeah, it's like we're just gonna take whatever we want, and screw all you guys in the middle. But yeah, the dude's trying to plead with him, as Piper and them, Keith David again try to find where they're broadcasting the signal. Oh, come on, guys, as they start their violence. Come on, get in on a piece of the action. You can be a part of this too. Be on the winning side. But yeah, we have another kind of action sequence where they're kind of blasting their way through this base, trying to get to the roof to find this sort of big satellite. It kind of comes out of nowhere for Keith David, where Holly, you find out, not surprisingly so, that she's a collaborator. She's actually kind of in on it. She's a mole, if you will. And she just out of nowhere just like pulls Keith David aside and like pops him in the head, and that's the end of him. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that at first. I was like, I thought she just took him hostage. She's like, nope, she just pulls him aside, pops him in the head, and that's the end of him. It's kind of unceremonious to a degree.
Even like before that, it's like when because he was like focused on saving Holly, like, where's Holly? And then like he just like, they find out that she's just wandering, but she doesn't really seem to like, she didn't go, she wasn't like, oh my god, thank god. She just sort of like, it's almost like she's just wandering like aimlessly, like, oh, okay, I'll come with you, I guess. It was very, very, it was a very kind of like not like thankless save. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it was all right. So then that's when I'm like, oh, I think there might be something going on here. And then she just, there's no build up to it. She just sort of shoots him in the head.
Yeah, no, she just walks up, shoots him, and that's it. So yeah, Piper's on his own. He makes his way up there. He's able to kind of disable the satellite. He kills Holly, but he's gunned down, by guys in a police helicopter. But his final message, of course, as the signal's going off the air, he kind of puts up the middle finger. He's able to kind of give one last sort of fu. And then there's a fun little quick montage here at the end as the signal kind of cuts out of all these people in like real life without the glasses required, like showing their true form, so you got the people on TV, you got the politicians.
The TV one's funny because like all of a sudden this chick is like this like reporter is looking like that, and some producer on the camera like, you look like shit.
Yeah. And then the final one is there's a woman riding a guy in like a cowgirl position having sex, and she looks down and he's just this green and purple and red discriminating. She's like, what's up, baby? That's it's a very funny kind of final shot ending on a kind of a funny bit. But leaving you wondering kind of what happens from here. But it's very, very funny. So he's able to kind of complete his mission, but going out in a blaze of glory. And not that I need a sequel to this movie, but I certainly think there's a place you could go with a sequel. But I don't.
They've been talking about it. I was reading stuff.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I think this is kind of one of those things that Carpenter will probably just leave it alone. It's its own thing. I think it would just, if he tried to do anything, it would just end up being kind of a disappointment, at least at this point in his career.
I think Matt Reeves was going to do some remake or sequel, and it happened. And So yeah, or they're going to do something where the movie would just be the book title, 8 in the morning, 4 in the morning. But yeah, I don't think I can see something getting off the ground at some point, but yeah, not. But as of now, there's nothing happening.
Yeah, the Matt Reeves stuff was back in like 2011. That he was going to do a remake with Carpenter producing, but they shifted it a little bit to where it was more of a direct adaptation of that short story I talked about, the 8 o'clock in the morning thing, and then it was just kind of dead in the water, throughout the 2010s. Just nothing really happened. But I think if you again did a movie like this with similar themes, I think it would still resonate. Obviously, I mean, there's a huge discussion now, about obviously, mega billionaires and this elite group, and as George Carlin put it, Richie, back in the day, it's a big club and you ain't in it, as he liked to put it, which I thought was the most apt way I've ever heard a comedian or somebody put it. It's a big club and you ain't in it. So, which is very funny, but I think it would be just as prescient today. I mean, look at the most recent thing of like the controversy with the stand-up comics. I'm sure you followed that. The ones that went over and did the Saudi Arabia festival funded by the billionaires, taking all the money.
Yeah, Bill Burr going there, he like chat, it was talking about how he hated like billionaires deserve what they get, but then you sign on to this, like the optics are weird, man. Just
well, and again, it's the same thing even in this movie, and it hit me again, like that kind of a similar situation of like the guys like, come on, man, just sell out to them. They're the winning team anyways. Like, just get a piece of the pie. You know what I mean? The guy's just like, there's plenty to go around. Just get a piece of the pie. That's what it kind of seems like. It's like they just made you an offer you couldn't refuse because you're a person. You know what I mean? Whatever the offer was, it was just too good.
Yeah.
Pete Davidson going over there when his dad
that's
was
crazy.
9/11 attacks.
That died in 9/11, and you're performing for the people who funded.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a whole thing. So, I know that's another discussion for another day. But I just thought it was like there's themes again. It just goes to the themes in this movie are kind of, still they're not unrelated to what's going on today. So it's still a discussion, obviously, of the mega elite and sort of the people on the ground level. So, but yeah, you can take it. This movie, you can watch it for the social satire, you can watch it for the commentary, or if you just want to watch it as a crazy, sci-fi sort of, alien movie with some horror elements, you can watch it as that as well. I think that's what makes this movie kind of endearing and what's made it kind of last a test of time. But yeah, Richie, your kind of overall thoughts on They Live and your rewatch here.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. I think it's it's a lot of fun, but got a lot of like sort of poignant messages that sort of ahead of its time, but it's probably been going on for a while. So, but yeah, definitely messages that sort of definitely are timeless. They carry over. But yeah, just really, the chemistry between Rodney Piper and Keith David is great, and like the design of the alien creatures are pretty cool. I think when they're actually like in color, they look like a Tim Burton creation or something.
Yeah.
Very like Beetlejuice type vibe. But yeah, it's it's fun. It can be funny at times, but the action's really good, and this is overall it's a pretty good time. So yeah, had fun.
Yeah, no, and I always have fun revisiting this one. Like again, I don't think it's ever going to be like one of my all-time favorites or anything like that. But I'm always down to watch it and give it a rewatch. Yeah, I do think Piper is very good here and gives off the kind of the right vibes. That nice middle ground between like a common man and a badass hero, that sort of thing. So he's able to kind of ride that line pretty well. Yeah, Keith David always plays a good sort of everyman character as well. It's kind of similar to his Thing character, and he's just I just love character actors. So Keith David's always been a great, character actor. And yeah, I mean, the themes of this movie are always going to be, prescient, Richie, with, rich versus poor and elite versus not elite and, capitalism and consumerism. I mean, those are always going to be themes that no matter what time period, you talk about it, there's always going to be that discussion that's never going to go away. So yeah, you could, that's why it kind of makes this movie sort of timeless, is that you could, the themes of this movie have never gone. It's not like we've solved the problem problem, Richie. You know what I mean? Like, especially nowadays, with inflation and everything becoming more expensive, and again, still the rich getting richer, poor getting poor. That's never going to go away. So it's not like this movie's not relevant, even now in 2025 as it falls apart, as they say in the movie, where they completed the takeover.
You'd have to like do a rehaul of the whole system, like the whole like in that runs like not even America, like the world. So like I don't see.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's not going to happen, but that it's a big undertaking for it to actually to not be an issue.
Yeah, there's so much money and power involved that like I don't think it would take a lot. It would basically take like society as a whole collapsing because of some natural disaster or something, I would think. You know what I mean? I think that would be the only way the system could be like upended to a degree, is if there was some like extinction level event, I hate to say, that just disrupted every government and every, kind of society and whatnot. I think that's the only way it would actually happen at this point. I think too many things are entrenched to where it could be like a simple, this isn't a Boston Tea Party situation, Richie. You know what I mean? Where some guys like spilled some tea into a thing, and like there was a protest in the street, and we're making a new constitution. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not a thing like that. So we're too deep entrenched at this point.
If something changes, I don't think it'll be within our lifetime. I think it'll be gone.
No, it's going to be like long after I'm gone for sure, or I'm an old man and with pudding for brains, in a nursing home. So it's going to be long after I'm gone. It'll be after the asteroid hits for sure. We'll wrap it up here there, and we'll wrap it up for They Live. It was a good rewatch and a lot of fun. If you haven't gone back and watched They Live, go check it out. It's a good time, and certainly one of Carpenter's best when he was just in his prime, just rocking. Like I said, the 70s and 80s. Carpenter, you can't really go wrong with a lot of his stuff there. So, good stuff. But Richie, anything you want to throw out there or plug before we get out of here tonight?
We got one of mine here in just a minute. Here we got do predictions, do a fantasy draft. Do a draft for
draft cards.
PWI list. Draft cards, but do like fantasy update, and then so that should be fun. You can find me, pop up here and there on an ASA tournament fights, tier ranker, rank him. Occasionally, I did rank him last week. Did Sportsman of the 2000s, so that was fun. Check that out, and did a lights out match with JPO the other day, so go check that out. It was a lot of fun to do. So that's all I sort of got at the moment. I'm sure there's every chance, because we're going to try and do a horror thing again, there's every chance we'll probably talk about another John Carpenter movie. So
either a John Carpenter movie, or given how many times like some of the Scream movies are on the wheel, there's a chance it'll be another one of the Scream movies or something. So you never know. It could be one of the first three of those, or who knows? That seems to be a theme. So what we'll probably do is I'll do like last time. I'll just have Jordan off air, just kind of spin the wheel until we spin something horror related, and we'll just kind of see what it is. So we'll at least get one more horror episode before the month is out on the 23rd. So we'll definitely do that. You can mostly find me here on the Movie Hero Network, co-hosting or hosting things. We are in the middle of our spooky season festivities on Tier Ranker and Tournament Fights. We did a Tier Ranker the other night of standalone horror movies. They Live made the top 10, by the way, on that standalone movies. It got a lot of S tier votes on that one. And then tomorrow night we'll be talking about a whole tournament of just horror franchises. So talking about the actual franchise in its completion. So you got to take that into effect. So that should be a lot of fun. Kind of taking in the whole thing. There's some interesting matchups on that one for sure, and some heavy hitters and some not so heavy hitters. But we'll talk about them all. I'll probably be the only guy on that panel, Richie, that's seen like even the minute sequels and some of those things on that panel, because I've seen all the Hellraiser movies. I've seen all the I've seen all the Children of the Corn sequels. I followed a podcast one time that watched them all. I've seen all the most of the Puppet Master movies. I've seen all the Leprechaun movies. I'm like the one guy on the panel that can speak to almost all of those. So yeah, that's going to be interesting when we get down to it. And then I'll also throughout the month be appearing on And I Quote, that's Ryan Permison's channel, with his watch alongs he does every Friday. I'll be on the next 3 episodes of that. So tomorrow night we're doing the 40th anniversary of Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger, so we'll be doing a watch along for that. And then we're hitting some Predator action leading up to Predator Badlands, because the Predator 2 has an anniversary this year, and that's my jam. You know, Richie, I'm a big fan of Predator 2. So yeah, we'll be talking about that for the 35th anniversary, and Predators for the 15th anniversary of that. So I still like that movie. Yeah, I like most Predator movies. So
it's interesting that this Predator Badlands is PG-13. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I think the reasoning is, and when you actually stop and think about it, it's logical, because you can get away with a lot when the blood is not red for whatever reason with the ratings boards. I mean, even if you look at the recent Godzilla movies and stuff, you can have Godzilla rip apart an entire monster, but as long as the blood is blue or green or something, you can get away with it. You know what I mean? Or if it's an alien, if it's a creature, something where the blood is not red. They just don't like red blood, Richie. So as long as you don't use red blood and you use green goo, you can spill as much green goo as you want to in a movie. And I think that's what it is, because it's supposed to be on a planet where there's no humans. So that's the idea, is that it's all creature action and these AI or robots or whatever. So, there's not really any people in the movie. So that's kind of the reasoning, I guess. So you can do as much violence as you want as long as it's not to people. I mean, one of those discussions, one of those weird MPAA things, that happens with that. So I understand it. It's not that bad. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal when you actually stop and think about it. But yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. Like I said, off screen and off air, we'll spin and see what other horror movie we come up with off the wheel for our other episode here in October. But we'll get to that on the 23rd in about 2 weeks. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. So thanks again, Richie, for joining me as always. So for Richie Goodacre, I've been Austin Pez Howell, and we'll see you next time.